Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. And as per usual, we'd like to say hello, do our roll call a little bit here. What did someone call it? Romper room? Wendy, good morning. Wendy's on the hit parade #1 today. John, how are you? Andrea from Niagara Falls. Sonia from Kitchener. Nativity, good morning. And Dale, nice to have you on this morning. Ashley. And Barbara. Jeanette from our staff, good morning. Doc McEwen, how are you? Rosalind. And Mabel, Laurie from Peterborough, Francis Marie, good morning. Bill, how is ya? Chantal and Andre, bonjour. Era, good morning. Yvonne, Petawawa, how are you? Christine, Diane, Ottawa, bonjour. Rain, how are you? Michigan. Terry, John from Elgin, Illinois. Betty Lynn, good morning. Sherry, I want to sing, Sherry. Marzana. Another Barbara. Good morning, guys. We appreciate you guys. Darlene and Lorna from Fort Washington, Maryland. Good morning. Debbie from Sturgeon Falls, Suzanne et Danielle, bonjour. Madeleine, bonjour. Karen, Otter Lake, near Coldwater. Good morning. John says he's from Windsor. Lise, good morning. Lori and Ryan, yes, how are you guys? From Sarasota, Florida. Good morning. Donna, Bell Valley, Kathy, Sharon. Thanks, Sharon, for that. Margaret, Olga, Teresa, and Jane. Okay, a couple more we got to go. From Lively, Marnie, good morning. And Cheryl and Robin from Connecticut. We appreciate you guys. And Rosa, Kevin, Barb, Dora, Donna from Park Hill. Okay, let's get going. Liz, how are you? Okay, is it possible, Charles, is it possible eating too much cheese can block the bile duct in the gallbladder? Well, good question, Charles. Okay, it really is. Look, a gallbladder is, you're made to eat fat, because that's what the gallbladder is. It's just a little reservoir, just a little pouch to store bile. And bile, is very important for digestion, very important for emulsifying fat, okay? So obviously you're meant to eat fat. Problem is, okay, with a gallbladder, you use it or lose it. And anybody that gets gallbladder stones, okay, gallstones, generally, okay, 99.9, they haven't used their gallbladder. You use it or lose it, okay, generally. Now, when you start the reset and your gallbladder is not used to it, not used to eating, a fair amount of fat, like cheese. Cheese is protein and fat, by the way, okay? Which is the best food. Why do I like meat? Protein and fat. Why do I like eggs? Protein and fat. Why do I like dairy? Especially cheese? Protein and fat. It's the way it should be. Now, gallbladder, use it or lose it. You can get a sluggish gallbladder. And Charles says, as soon as he backed off the cheese, he felt better. Yep. And your gallbladder just has to get used to it. Okay? You have to get used to it. Let your gallbladder work. And one way to help with the gallbladder, yeah, cut back for a while on cheese. The other thing is, you don't have to cut it out, but cut back. And the other thing is, don't eat at night. If you want to give your gallbladder a big time recess, any digestive issue really, I used to tell my patients, stop eating around, make 6 o'clock the latest and you're finished eating. And give your body a huge chance just to break down food and break down fat and rest. And that really helps, okay? So thanks for the question, Charles, okay? And here's another one, Carrie, on gallbladder, right at the top. Wanting to know if low progesterone levels can affect one's gallbladder. Yep, absolutely can, okay? Progesterone is really important for smooth muscle. That's why, ladies, okay, I used to see this all the time. A woman has a baby and they lose their gallbladder, okay? Why did that happen? Well, probably for 2 reasons. They weren't eating enough fat, so use it or lose it, or the other one was quite common, and that is when a woman has a baby, and by the way, only women can have babies. Ooh. Anyway, when a woman has a baby, she leaves all of her progesterone in the placenta. Okay? Now, your body's supposed to build it up and bring it back up, but sometimes, and this is another reason you get postpartum blues. Why do women get postpartum depression? Well, all their progesterone was left in the placenta, and estrogen takes over. And when you get estrogen dominance, you can have trouble with the gallbladder and you can have trouble with postpartum depression. And here's another organ that's very important for women that men rarely get. And then there's some hormonal factors, and that is the bladder. Okay, because men, I'm not saying we never have trouble with the bladder. We have trouble with the prostate, not the bladder. But women have trouble with the bladder, recurring infections. The bladder drops down sometimes after a baby. And what is that? Smooth muscle. Low progesterone. So, again, progesterone is always measured, or at least it should be, in relationship to estrogen. The both should be equal. And when you get estrogen dominance, it's not necessarily because your estrogen is way too high. It's higher than progesterone. That's the key. And that's why in postmenopausal women, oh, doc, I got low estrogen. You really have low progesterone. Yes, estrogen is coming down, but it's the balance between estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so it can affect the gallbladder for sure. Carrie, thanks for the question. Does anyone know about this ingredient, vitamin E, D-alpha tocopherol? Well, look, vitamin E is 4 tocopherols, and the real vitamin E is exercise. Okay? Why don't I talk to you about vitamin E very much? I mean the other one. The D-alpha tocopherol. It's not toxic, by the way. Is it toxic, Marietta? No, it's not toxic. What? Vitamin E? Eat eggs, meat, and cheese, and you're going to get lots of vitamin E, the other vitamin E, okay? You know me, Martin Clinic, we characterize exercise as vitamin E because it's a much more important vitamin. I'm not saying that vitamin E is not good for you, but when you eat eggs, meat, and cheese, you're going to get vitamin E. You'll get all that you need, okay? And do I use it as a supplement? Nah, not much. Okay? Not much. But is it good for you? Well, for sure it's good for you. Vitamin E is good for you. Okay? The other vitamin E. But it's certainly not toxic. And Sandra, how do Navitol and high DHA and quercetin improve pulmonary fibrosis? Well, pulmonary fibrosis is scarring in the lungs, difficulty breathing, similar to COPD, okay? Where you got these, alveoli, and they don't move much, and they're fibrous, they're scarred. That's what fibrosis is. And okay, why, for lungs, I like vitamin D. I like Navitol because it increases nitric oxide. That means it opens up the blood vessels. The more blood supply you have in those lungs, the better it's going to be. High DHA lubricates. Think of lubrication. You need an oil change in those lungs. And I love high DHA, okay? Not only for your lungs, obviously, your eyes, your brain, your heart. Lubrication. You go to, with your car, you get an oil change. It's lubrication. You're changing the oil and they do a lube. Do I know anything about my car? No, but I certainly know about your body, and you need to change oils and do a lube job. Make those blood vessels as slippery as possible. Okay? And quercetin is good. I like quercetin. By the way, you get quercetin in coffee too. It drives zinc inside the cell. Very good for your immune system. And quercetin is famous for allergies. Okay? For allergies. It's a natural antihistamine. Okay, so that's good for your lungs too. Okay, thanks, Sandra. Somebody that doesn't want to give us their name, that's all right. Can a person become immune to cortisol control? It doesn't work as well. Well, it's possible. It's not necessarily that you become immune to it. Whatever your stress levels are or whatever, look, thousands and thousands of people love cortisol on a daily basis, and it works for them. If it works less, maybe come off of it for a month or so and see by restarting it how it works for you. Okay? Wade, I'd like Dr. Martin to comment on the value of fasting evenings and other times. Well, I just talked about it. Wade, okay. I really like fasting at night. I'm big. The best fasting is intermittent fasting. And look, everybody's different, but generally here's what I found. You really are fasting if you stop eating, for example, at 6 o'clock at night and don't eat till about 10 o'clock the next morning. Now you are intermittent fasting. And that does a lot of things, including increasing your autophagy, increasing your brain, cleaning, your self-cleaning oven in the brain, okay? Call your glymphatic system. Everything works better. Your digestion works better. Everything's better. It helps with the liver and helping to clean it out and all of this and that. Yeah, I like intermittent fasting. I talked about it all the time. It's eating within windows. You see, the problem is, Wade, here's the problem in society today. The biggest problem is metabolic syndrome. Metabolic syndrome is caused by insulin resistance. It's constantly the secretion of insulin. Why is that? Because we're carboholics. So when you eat within windows, meaning that, let's say you start at 10 o'clock in the morning and you stop at 6 o'clock at night, you got about an 8-hour window where you're eating. You're not always eating, but let's say you had a little bit you had a good breakfast, had bacon and eggs at 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And then let's say, if you had at 10, you probably don't want to eat lunch. You might just have a little something, at 1 o'clock or whatever. And then you have your supper and then you're done. Because what happens is that people, because they're snacking all the time, because they're using their insulin all the time, because let's say, for example, you start your morning at 8 o'clock and you have a bowl of cereal and toast, okay, which is very common for most people, okay, or they have a muffin or a bagel, and then they have a little snack at 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, at 8 o'clock, till 10 o'clock, your insulin's going crazy because it's trying to get sugar out of your bloodstream and store it in your muscles, in your liver, or it's making fat cells, okay? And then you eat again. You didn't even give your body a break. Why do you think we see so much metabolic syndrome? It's insulin. Remember, okay? Remember this illustration. Again, I'm very visual. Your pancreas literally is the size of this ballpoint pen. Now, it does a few things, but its major job is to control your blood sugar. Doesn't want you to go too low. It doesn't want you to go high. That's for sure. Okay? And inside the ballpoint pen, you see ink. Okay? Inside your pancreas, you have insulin. It's a hormone. It's a traffic cop. Its job primarily is to take sugar out of your bloodstream. So your body knows that sugar is toxic. You might not know it. Well, you guys do. You're my audience. But the world out there doesn't know sugar is toxic. And they used to call diabetes sugar diabetes, but they changed the name. There was a reason for that. They're not stupid. The food industry is not stupid. And the pharmaceutical industry, they're not stupid. They don't want to cure your diabetes. They want to manage your diabetes. So they don't even call it sugar diabetes. They call it type 2 adult onset diabetes. Okay? But it's sugar diabetes. You got an allergy to sugar. Okay? So, when you use your pancreas all day long, and then what happens at the cellular level, your cells are so sick and tired of seeing insulin, they get tired of it. But insulin says, I don't care. If you insist on eating carbs, I have to come and take that sugar out of the bloodstream. So if I got to pour more and more and more insulin at you, I will. And your cells go, I hate you. Get away from me. So intermittent fasting helps that. For sure it does. It gives your pancreas a break. It gives your insulin a break. But at the end of the day, here's what I've said too. That when you eat eggs, when you eat meat, and when you eat cheese, okay, weed, you really are fasting without fasting. Why is that? Because when you eat high quality food, fuel that your cells adore, you don't need a lot of insulin. You need some, but you don't need much. So you're fasting without fasting. Now, am I against intermittent fasting? No. Absolutely not against it. I don't like 48-hour fasting or 72-hour fasting. I really don't like that, okay? It's not, in my opinion, it's not the way your body is meant to operate. Now, you can do it if you get, I've said this before, you get the diagnosis of cancer. There's some research out there suggesting that you do a 3-day fast. Don't eat it all for 3 days. You can drink water. You need water, of course, and have coffee. Okay? But I don't, to be honest, I'm not big on fasting for 48 hours or 72 hours. I'm not. Okay? When I used to measure people and, they used to develop a fair amount of uric acid when they were doing that. I didn't like that. Okay? Per se. Is it going to kill you? No, it won't kill you. But is it the best thing for you? No. In my opinion, it's not. And I know that, some fasting gurus would say it's very beneficial to the body. I disagree with that. Okay, that's me. Okay, and that's my experience, and that's where I come from. Okay. Linda's asking about what is the cause and what do you recommend for hidradenitis suppurativa. Oh, big names. I've seen it. What do I think? It's an autoimmune and leaky gut. Better fix that. I would do the reset, fix leaky gut, and it certainly wouldn't hurt it. What foods cause the effect lipoprotein A blood test? Well, Maureen, I'm sorry, and I'm not picking on you, okay? That is a smokescreen, okay? The lipoprotein A or B, part of your lipid profile. To me, guys, look, why am I worried about that? I'm not. Okay? Again, Maureen, here's what you worry about. What are my triglycerides and what is my HDL? Okay? LDL, that's sort of getting some bad ink now because the more time they've had to research it, they realize if you have low LDL, okay, low density lipoprotein, you're going to die younger. And they drive that down with medication. So now they've got plan B. Because people, maybe I shouldn't be worried about my LDL so much, And so what do? Now they've come up with something else, okay? And, Maureen, what did they say? Oh, what is my lipoprotein A blood test doing? Okay? It's to put you on statin drugs. They hit over $1 trillion in sales. Looking for love in all the wrong places. You can't change my mind about it. I've been screaming the cholesterol hoax for years and years and years. I wrote articles for magazines or whatever years ago. Don't believe the cholesterol. Blaming cholesterol is like blaming police because they're at the crime scene. They're not the bad guy. Of course you have cholesterol. You have cholesterol in all your cells. You have cholesterol in your brain. You have cholesterol flowing through your blood vessels. But they're not the bad guy. None of it is the bad guy. Only triglycerides are the bad guy. And when your cholesterol is too low, especially your HDL, you're not going to do well. You need high cholesterol. And I know that goes against the grain. I know it's not popular. I know that I've been called a quack and worse. But guys, I double down, triple down. Don't try and get your lipids down. Get your triglycerides down. By cutting out the sugar and cutting out the carbohydrates. Because that's how you make triglycerides, the fat balls that go into your bloodstream when your liver is overloaded. And especially high fructose corn syrup, which is the sugar of choice for the food industry. They have ruined the health of our kids, our grandchildren, and us. Okay, Beth, I wonder why my legs feel cool and wet from time to time. Beth, hormones. You're weird. No, excuse me, you're unique. Now, you're not even unique. You're a woman. Ask Joe if he gets, what did you say? What happens when my legs feel cool and wet from time to time? Ask a man if that ever happens. Nah, we don't have any hormones. We're a bunch of babies. God didn't give us hormones. Well, we got hormones, but we don't have ovaries. We couldn't take it. Believe me when I tell you that. I'm very hard on men because we're big babies and we're stubborn. We couldn't take it. There you go. Carmen's asking about betaine hydrochloride. You can take it as a supplement. Be very careful with that stuff. Okay, I tell people, most people don't do well with betaine. Okay, I like digestive enzymes better. And you know what? Drink a little pickle juice or have a little bit of apple cider vinegar or a little touch of balsamic vinegar. That's really good for your stomach. Okay? Linda, iodine is found in, and should I take a supplement? Well, if you take our thyroid supplement, you're getting iodine in there. But your thyroid, look, iodine's important. It really is. But so is selenium. And this is why, let me just say this, okay, about the thyroid. I got to talk about the thyroid for a second. We talk about it a lot, don't we? Okay? Because it's the master gland. And, especially in women, it's got a lot of strings attached. Now, let me talk about food. And I'm just going to make a general statement. Okay? Let me make a general statement. Women, especially in this day and age, they don't eat enough eggs, iodine, meat, iodine, and cheese, iodine. But not only iodine, selenium. Okay? All your B vitamins. You see, your thyroid nutritionally. When women, I'm picking on you because you can take it. Men, we can't take it. Women, listen. Linda, listen. When you live on salad, okay? When you live on salad, cows are to live on salad, not you. Okay? And when nutritionally, your thyroid doesn't get enough eggs, meat, and cheese, you're damaging your thyroid. Not only are you not getting enough iodine, unless you're eating seaweed, but it's not just iodine, it's selenium. It's your B vitamins. Your thyroid needs protein. It needs fat. It needs those important things. And I saw it thousands and thousands of times because the women bought the lie, especially women, of a low-fat diet. That is the stupidest thing that was ever invented. Low-fat. Go to the yogurt department. I often do this when I go to the grocery store. I go into the yogurt and dairy, and it goes, low-fat yogurt, low-fat yogurt, low-fat yogurt. You can hardly buy anything with fat in it. It's so stupid. Fat reduced. It says fat reduced. The geniuses in the food companies, because they're scared of cholesterol. It's the boogeyman. They make everything low fat. Yeah, how stupid. That's not dairy. Dairy is high fat. That's why I don't like grocery store milk. It's low fat. It's not supposed to be. Your thyroid needs fat. Your thyroid needs protein, and it needs the bioavailable protein that's found in eggs, meat, and cheese. Ladies, listen. I know you're listening because you're my audience. No, but seriously, guys, why do you think we see? And then, of course, when you on the other side, you're consuming sugar, destructive to the thyroid gland, because it hits the hypothalamus in the brain and the pituitary. It messes things up. Okay, enough of my diatribe. Here we go. Janet, what are my thoughts on ginkgo? I like it, but it's never been my favorite. It was big, now I'm talking ginkgo really, I mean, I would have liked to have shares in ginkgo in the late 1990s, I think. Yeah, maybe early in the turn of the century. But I mean, it was like, it's good for depression, it's good for this, it's good for that. You know what? All my patients used to talk to me about it, and what do I think about it? And I answered that question on radio probably 1,000 times, if not once. I said, I like things better than ginkgo. I was much bigger on Navitol pine bark because it crossed the blood-brain barrier readily. And for brain and for concentration and all of that, I like high DHA and Navitol better. But listen, I didn't say I disliked it. I just found it's not all that was cracked up to be. Okay. Oh, somebody else is asking about, Deborah asking about vitamin E. Of its use, especially in balance issues. Yeah, there's, again, vitamin E, eat it. Supplement, meh. I'll put Navitol up against that vitamin E anytime and any day. Okay? Okay? And I actually put a little bit of vitamin E in it. The Navitol. Okay. Okay, Nicole. Wendy. My friend yesterday has an ulcer and separated stomach. Okay, keto, she feels better, not eating any grains. Yeah, don't eat grains. Look, H. pylori, then she ate grains, and grains for an ulcer. The grains. Look, grains ain't what they used to be. Okay? One of the things we could talk about is wheat. And they don't even make it like they used to. Okay? Like the wheat flour and that, like it's processed with bromide instead of iodine. It used to be iodine. But you know what? I find you get people off grains and they feel better. They really do. Multi-grain, 50-grain. Dr. Martin, it's so good for you, isn't it? Nah, that was brought to you by the cereal companies. Look, bread ain't what it used to be. It really isn't, okay? We don't live in Jesus' time. And even then, he said, man shall not live by bread alone, right? Or pasta, or noodles, or whatever, okay? I'm not saying you never, ever, ever have them. I'm just saying way overrated. And when you're on the reset, you're not eating any grains. Okay. Nicole, what about SIBO? Okay. Leaky gut and SIBO, two different things, by the way, okay? But they're treated similar, okay? Leaky gut is when your blood gut barrier has been compromised due to antibiotics, due to bad food, you get leaky gut. SIBO is really, in my opinion, I renamed it because I think I'm right. I know I'm right. SIBO, which is small intestine fungal overgrowth. It's just like, ladies, if you get a recurring bladder infection, can I tell you what it is? It is yeast. It is fungus. It is not bacteria. Yeah, there's a bacteria there. But because you took an antibiotic, you get a development of yeast. And this is how you get SIBO too, because it's really SIBO. And the use of antibiotics, the poor acidity in the stomach. And, you know, when you don't use your stomach for meat and you use it for salad, you got a good chance of getting SIBO. But they're treated similarly. You change your diet. You don't eat any sugar whatsoever. I'm big on a probiotic. I know they say don't use a probiotic in SIBO. You know what? I don't agree with that at all. They want you to use an antibiotic because they think it's only bacterial. I say, nah, there's a bacteria there. Yep, I agree. But the underlying condition is yeast. It's fungal. And when you're bloated, and when you got, you know, real stomach discomfort, oftentimes it's SIBO. Get rid of the yeast. And you probably got leaky gut at the same time. Fix both. Very similar protocol. I like oil of oregano, by the way. This is why I created our digestive enzymes for SIBO, because I put oil of oregano in it. And that kills that fungus. See, antibiotics don't kill a fungus. They make fungus worse. So you might get temporary relief, but it's going to get worse in the long run. I'm telling you. Because they're shooting at the wrong enemy. The enemy's not the bacteria, it's a fungus. It's a yeast. It's candida. Okay? Gets into the bladder in women and gets into the gut in the small intestine. Okay? Thanks for the question. Okay, Nicole, thank you. Anonymous, knee bent in position, spasms in the leg. Well, usually I would start drinking some pickle juice because you're probably low in sodium and potassium. By the way, there's more potassium in bacon than there is in a banana. Eat your bacon. Barbara, I like hot coffee. It burns all the way down. Does it damage the lining? No, it won't contribute to leaky gut. Coffee's good for you. Okay. I mean, if it's burning all the way down, maybe it's a little too hot. What is that doing? I don't know. Everybody's different, Barb. I mean, you like it burning hot like that? I like mine, I like it hot too. I don't like, lukewarm coffee at all, but not that hot. But that's just my taste, okay? Lori, autoimmune as Parkinson's will cut out sugar, help big time. Because you remember, in Parkinson's, it's leaky gut. It started in the gut. You had more bad guys than good guys, plus then you got the invasion of the third army, which is fungus, it's yeast, it gets in, it crosses the blood-brain barrier, because the same way your gut is compromised, the bacteria in your gut is compromised. It's the same thing that happens in the blood-brain barrier. Okay? And that's the connection. So what happens? Yeast gets into the bloodstream and it travels to the brain. Can give you MS. Can give you Parkinson's. Okay? Leaky gut, leaky brain. Okay? Plug it up and don't feed the yeast. It'll call your name every day. That's why with sugar, it helps. If you don't feed yeast, it's going to get angry, but then it's going to die. And go after it with broad spectrum probiotics. Okay? Laura, infopathy. Yeah, that's something, that's an element, that's electromagnetic. Nah, that's not my expertise. Okay, healing electromagnetic. Look, I mean, there are people that really get into that. That was never my expertise. I read about it, but it's not my expertise, so I hate to even comment on it. Sindora, does coffee raise cortisol? Nope, it don't. No, it's good. Coffee's good for you. It actually lowers extra cortisol. You need cortisol, by the way. Cortisol's not a bad guy when it's your friend, okay? Coffee is good. It's good for everything. It's the real vitamin C. I'm sorry, I can't change my mind about it. Has 1,000 phytonutrients. It's a supplement. Coffee. Okay. Dystonia, neurological. Yeah, well, that's leaky gut. Start with the gut. When it's neurological, start with the gut. Why do we see so much ALS today? Okay? Leaky gut. And that, it's terrible. But I'm telling you, antibiotics, the greatest discovery of the 20th century and the curse of the 21st. I'm telling you, those guys are killers. They'll save your life and yet kill you, on the other hand. I've been saying that for 50 years. I'm sorry. I just, and I'm not telling you, you need, we just don't get enough good bacteria. I'm sorry. We just don't. Okay. And Trudy, what do I think of SCAC-T? Well, SCAC-T again, man, oh man, what year did I must have talked about that because people asked me that on my radio show again, right around 2000, maybe even a little earlier than that. Renee Case came out. It's actually a girl from, a nurse from Ontario, Northern Ontario. I think it was Muskoka or somewhere there in the Muskokas. Yeah. Am I against it? No. If I had cancer, try it. But is it the miracle that they talked about? Nah. I like my protocol better, to be honest, okay, for cancer. Vitamin D. Get your serum levels of vitamin D very high. You eliminate sugar totally. Cancer's looking for sugar. You go on high DHA. There's research on that. So I'm not against SCAC-T, okay? Like I said, it really, really was famous for a while there, and I'm going back quite a few years. But again, I'm not against it, guys, okay? I just got to tell you what I like better. That's all. That's what I'm saying, okay? You know what I used to tell my patients? And I mean it. I bet you I said it once a day. I said to them this, if I thought holding your feet and hanging you upside down from my building would help you, I'd go there and hold your feet. So am I against, someone says SCAC-T, go for it. If you got cancer, it ain't going to hurt you. But I liked what I could measure. And I know what vitamin D does. I know what the sun does. I know what happens when you get your serum vitamin D levels to a certain level. I just know what happens with that. Is it the cure-all and be-all? Nah. But it's certainly at the top of the food chain, in my opinion. Compared to SCAC-T, I'd compare it any day to that. Okay? I'm very opinionated, guys, but you're asking me questions. I got to tell you what I think, right? Otherwise, you're not going to like me. Okay. Wendy's asking about estrogen, vaginal estrogen. Do I like it? No. I never like estrogen. I just don't. Okay? If you had dryness in women, listen, that's no fun, but I don't like putting estrogen into the body because it's not the issue. The issue is the lack of progesterone. And I like, there's a gel out lubrication with hyaluronic acid, natural. I'm not big on estrogen because I find estrogen is a growth hormone. And, you know what estrogen, you know how they make estrogen? I'm talking about the synthetic one. Horse's urine. And I always used to tell my patients, women patients this, are you eating hay? Oh, you don't? No. Well, I wouldn't take horse's urine then because you're not a horse. Okay? I learned that from a colleague of mine, Dr. Fishman. And he said, you know what? He was never big on estrogen. He didn't like it. And he was a compound pharmacist, PhD, taught at medical school on bioidentical hormones, and he hated estrogen. Okay. Me too. Okay. Tien. She has hypertension. Can she drink coffee? Yeah. Do you know that coffee will actually lower your blood pressure? You know why? Because it elevates your nitric oxide. Coffee is good for your blood vessels. Coffee is good for your blood sugar. It's like metformin. I love it. Okay. You know what? They hate coffee. They hate the sun. They hate cholesterol. They're wrong. I'm sorry. Okay. And Louise, coffee enemas. Yep. I used to give patients some suppositories with a coffee enema. Drink coffee. Again, it's good for you. Empties your liver. Okay? I'm not against it. Joy, my girl started out with straight hair, now hit puberty, went to tight curls. See what hormones do? See the men, that never happens to us. Okay? Never happens to a man. Women, complicated. God made you unique. Okay? Beverly, stratonium citrate with nah. I know what it is. A mineral. Eat eggs, meat, and cheese. How's that? You get a lot of it. Okay. I know. Okay, guys. I am very controversial. I admit it. I listened to a radio show yesterday. I heard it. And the guy said, the arguments he makes can't be broken. That's what he said. I kind of like that. The arguments I make can't be broken. Because they're true. And I just want you to be healthy, guys. I do. And I want you to be able to decipher what is true and what is BS. And I hate to use the word. Okay? And there's a lot of BS out there. Okay? A lot of it. Don't be duped. Okay. We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.